having me, and congratulations to all the speakers. They were before me. Great job. I have a big shoes to fill. I'll try to keep very short and sweet because you guys are ready for lunch. I know my brain is fried by now. So I have like about 30 pages, but I'm going to go through quickly with that because I think this presentation is going to be very visual. I don't have any slide really about myself, so I'm just going to give you a couple of short information. I used to work as an in-house creative departments for a couple years in the large corporations and the small companies before I went on my own. And it was my dream always to run my own creative studio. It used to be only me. Now it's the team of people. Some of them actually work in Poland because I am originally from Poland, if you haven't noticed yet by my accent. I always want to have a job that allows me to travel to Poland in business, but I never could find one, so I had to create one. So I'm on the path to do that. But I've been always interested in branding, and I actually used to work for Modern Marketing Concepts. And when I left, I knew they were getting ready to refresh their branding. The company's going global, and they needed a little bit new image. And I actually went to the owner of it. I knocked on the door. I went to his office. I said, I want the job. I want to do it. And I'm the person like, let's go do it and then figure out later. And he called me back a couple of weeks after and said, I'll let you do it. And I never realized what a big job it's going to be. It's not only me, and I shouldn't take credit for all the work I'm going to be showing you here, but it's a team of marketing people, strategists, copywriters, and developers. But I was responsible for all the graphic direction. And I'm going to show you a couple examples before and after. They're always fun to see. This wasn't the total overhaul. Sometimes when the client approaching you, then they want to have a completely new messaging, new logo, new color palettes. In this case, we're actually building on existing, we were taking some of the existing elements and just refreshing them. And like the website, it was a total overhaul, but some of the other elements like logo was just a little touch-ups or what you call that surgical operation on your face. It's like I'm missing the word. Facelift, exactly, like a little facelift of the logo. So I just have a couple of really, basic illustration. The brand was all over the place. There was not really anything consistent. Probably the one consistent element of the branding was just the color. But there was a lot of stock images on the website. The website was very small, never optimized. It was really presenting, sending a message of a small company in Binghamton, New York, and not a 300 plus and growing global corporation. This is a couple of other shots from the website. They were differentiating different businesses by color. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Modern Marketing Concepts. They're in Kirkwood. There are 300 plus employees. These are mainly sales company. It serves like a sales channel for other companies. So pretty difficult. Some of their solutions were pretty difficult for us to illustrate. That was the biggest challenge for us. So it's most of a business-to-business company. A lot of people think of the MMC as a telemarketing company because they have a lot of people on the floor, answering the calls. But there's so much more than that right now. They're actually building their digital center right now, and they're changing the world that markets itself. So it's online sales, it's social media sales, it's they do a lot of landing pages, email marketing, just a kind of very large sales programs for two main business groups. It's the building industry and healthcare. So when you can see the logo, we haven't really done too much to it. The owner never really wanted to change the hourglass icon, and the dots were symbolizing the untapped markets. So we're presenting kind of different scenarios, like how far we can go, and so this is just I consider this just a facelift. You can actually you can't tell by the colors here, but the palette has changed from warm grays to to cold, and we slim down a little bit, around the corners, just a little bit to make it a little bit more. But that's all we are actually allowed to do. So I should go here. So dots, that was the one graphic element that we knew that we should and keep it, because modern marketing concept was always, the dots were always like a graphic element they're always well known from. So that was my starting point. It's just a board with a lot of dots that I want to use this as a starting element to creating those digital illustrations, because that's what I'm going to be focusing on mostly, is how do I show the sales, and what do I create to actually carry the message of their different solutions. And this is what I'm going to show you the next, was just a really draft that we didn't use. It was just the starting point. It was okay, it looked like a stock images more than anything. But we knew that we need to come up with some solutions that we can use on the banners, we can use as small icons, we can use as avatars. So it has to be something that's going to work in very small scales. So we did that, and my team kind of pushed me. I mean, that was hours and hours, a lot of sweats and tears, trying to come up. But I'm glad that we kind of push ourselves. So this is just a very simple graph, to showing where, I actually started to play, really take my time, set apart. It's let's have some fun with those. Starting with a really basic dot element, trying to slice it, try to expand, move around. I mean, I did a lot of different exercises. And when I did it, actually, without certain purpose, I tried to discovering some interesting things were happening, because a lot of those solutions we had to do in very abstract way. There was really no, we tried to be unique at the same time, but, when you're talking about the sales calls or platform, what could be a challenge? How do you actually illustrate the word challenge? So it was really fun exercise, and we actually been looking throughout the process. We've been looking at the IBM site. I don't know if ever you've been on IBM site. I mean, I love going to this site. It's because it's always changing, and their illustrations are just amazing. I mean, the overall color scheme is very subtle, but the illustrations are amazing. And they have a pretty interesting task to illustrate, and I was always fascinated by the site is so deep and there's so much content, but every time I go to the homepage, every week or every couple weeks, it looks different. So, we started originally with, this is the connected intelligence, and that's what they're selling to their clients. So, there's a lot of different solutions, account teams, data analytics, resource allocation planning, and we actually come up with graphics for each of that solution. I don't know if you can see well. I invite you to go to mmcweb.com, where actually these are all live, because I know that some of them looks dark over here. But this is the graphics we did for the homepage for the banners, and we have to use other icons and graphics for these illustrations. But what I was trying to always keep in mind, that I want them to be different enough from each other, but I also want them to look like they're coming from the same place, have some connection. So in each of the illustrations, you're always going to see a dot. Whether it's a word map made out of dots, whether it's just a pattern or graphic texture, or whether it's kind of analytics, very simplified analytics charts. So that the kind of the shape, it will be always present in each of those solutions. And this is just, a couple others representation. And some of them has been changing. I know on the current website, we actually went away from the square, and we have right now in the circle those solutions, but these are like little icons that represent the different solutions. Account delivery teams. NAP is actually a next action platform tool, right? Easy to. And that was a lot of learning for me. It was a huge challenge, how to make them be unique, but don't. We started with a lot of stock, at the very beginning, when we didn't have the photography resources and photographers actually for the company, we started using a lot of stock images. I mean, how many of you using stock images? I mean, sometimes you have to. It's the fastest and cheapest. But you kind of are losing the uniqueness of the company because, if you purchase the image exclusively, you own it. But with each client, we always try to, have a budget or schedule budget for photography, for, illustration. In this case, we had time to do that, and we're allowed to kind of experiment. And I'm going to show you later also the photography examples. This is, another set of different solutions because each, this is, I can't even remember right now how many pages the site has. It must be like 40 plus or 50 right now because we've been adding constantly pages. That everything's been custom coded and it's on WordPress. Yeah. So, we had some of the omni-channel teams. Some of them really need to go there's no way we can be very literal with them, so they had to go very abstract. Some of them, like technology team, that was a little bit easier, or the customer satisfaction teams were a little bit easier to, of the distributor teams, with their little packages and envelopes, that was a little bit easier to illustrate. So when we're almost done with the first part of projects, we created brand guidelines. MMC never had any brand guidelines, and it happens with my own business. I do all the work for my clients, and I actually never have time to take care of my own stuff. So it's like a 30-page document. I'm just going to show you a couple of different pages out of that. But that's actually something that is useful for me. What happened the other day, I was working on a little holiday card for MMC, and I actually used a different font in the card because it was more festive. Everything was according to the brand guidelines, but actually I didn't use the primary font. And the art director came back to me with a revision. Well, we should use the font that is our primary font. Well, that's very true, And so this is actually not only for them. It's a very good document for me because sometimes we may get carried away, and there might be instances that we have to tweak a little bit. We need to add some different element. They're not exactly in the brand guidelines, but this should be always for MMC and for all their suppliers. They ever touch their graphics, this should become like a Bible to go by. And when we talk about, we actually have even copywriting in guidelines in that. We started, I'm not going to show you the logo, how to use it, how to not use the logo. I'm probably preaching to the choir here, to a lot of you, and you know that. But sometimes the most easiest thing and obvious, it's still very helpful for, especially when, sometimes marketing or salespeople are putting the presentations together, and they might not be aware that you can change the logo, you can rotate the logo, or you can, squeeze to fit. You should always keep the proportions. So this is just a kind of, few pages of, we have a typography guidelines, we have for print and separate for web. Some of the brand drivers, their taglines: relationship, insight, growth, and we try to see how it's going to work on different background colors. Again, we have the arrow made out of dots. And actually, relationship, insight, growth, it's set up in black, but in different shades of black. So it's building the momentum. You're starting relationships, you're getting the insight, and you provide the growth for them. We also, the chapter 7 was all about brand aesthetics, and we asked them to keep in mind about generous use of white space, clean and legible typography. That was always, things that were never consistent in all of their marketing materials, and premium photography. And I think if I'm going to show you examples, what their photography looked like before and after, I think it's going to be a huge difference. I just did, Wednesday, I just did a photo shoot for them, board of directors photo shoot. And I should have shown, unfortunately I don't have it with me, but I should show you the image of them. It's all guys. and this about 9 guys, very respectable businessmen from the area and outside the New York State. But they're all wearing suits and they look like a mafia. It was like a picture that it was just it was just not what we would like to see on our website, and it wasn't carrying the right message. So we asked them to ditch their ties, just be casual but professional, and I think we kind of got a little bit of more. Although we only had like 10 minutes to put a shot together because they're all like such a tight timeline. But I'm hoping that's going to be a nice addition to the website. So we also put it in the brand guidelines. We put like a little examples, inspirational boards. What if you're going to have to create other graphics, what kind of a feel you should look for, and because they have their own creative department. So us as an outside consultant and graphic design firm, we need to work with them and have them being included and actually help them and sometimes educate them or train them, because they can do a fabulous job there, but providing them kind of guidelines what to look. And we also provide them some guidelines for the photography. Most of the photography on the MMC website is actually black and white, because I think it really works nicely with their color palette. And some of them are stock images here, because not always there's gonna be budget available for doing their own photography. So I kind of took 2 people from from the company, and this is what I had actually to work with when I started working the website, and that's what we actually shoot those people, and you can see how much difference. I mean, you can tell the personality. And I was doing it with a couple local photographers, was working with them, and we talked to these people. We have about 50 minutes per person to take their shots, and what a difference, right? I mean, what a difference this makes. We also, in brand guidelines, we also had each tool was about 20 business tools, starting from business cards, letterheads, envelopes, all the sales materials, presentations. We also have guidelines, what font, what size, everything was laid out. This is actually a couple of very simple PowerPoint slides presentation. And what I run into the issues is it's sometimes hard to predict like every case scenario, how they're going to use that. So we had to actually go back and redo, because somebody said, it's not going to work with me. So we have a couple of different versions, whether you're printing something that you just want to keep as clean as possible, or if you're doing something online or presenting on large screen, that you can use some color background. So we end up, I don't remember, probably with 30 or 40 separate tasks for each document, and we've not done yet with the project. This is, I didn't mention, but we started in actually the kickoff for the project was in January 2013, and we're still working on it. So it's been, it will be almost a year. This is one of the idea for the case study. We also use some of the illustration. It's just a lot of less scale than on the website. These digital illustrations were mainly for the website use. So this is the new, and I actually have it blown out better, but this is the new website. But if you have a chance to go to mmcweb.com, you're gonna see the difference between what it was. Of course, we also look at all the social media and create a graphics that correspondence with their brand name, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, to just to name a few. And this is just kind of like a board that bringing it all together. So as soon as we completed the main portion of the project and brand guidelines, you think that we were done with that. And no, we actually went and create their own custom intranet site. It's called Fuse. And it's just like an evolving organism. It's constantly changing. And the moment we launched, it's like, let's go to phase 2 and let's redo it. It's almost set up like social media for the employees, because throughout my career and all the other corporate organizations I work with, I've never seen really a fun and good intranet site. I think that some I was really excited when the owner of MMC and CEO, when I was like, I want to change, I want to make our employees engaged, I want them to, post some interesting, business related, but also we have a bulletin board for employees, all the business tools. It's the one place they can go in and log in. We, there's some other portals that it has to be linked separately, like healthcare or 401k plan, but there's, assignees, but everyone can go in and kind of post recognition for some other employee, or what happened in my, my world, or what happened with my clients. So we have a lot of different blogs, each for building products, employee association, facility updates. They're posting what's for lunch today. So I think that actually employee participation went from 0 to, went up significantly. But the key to that and to keeping them engaged in that tool is to, feeding with the fresh content. Because if they're going to come up to the site and nothing's going to change for a week or two, they're just not going to bother. They're not going to come back. So we actually were, we're tasked. This actually have a little banner here and a rotating messaging. So we're tasked we need to create another set of 30 or 20 or 30, I think we're up to 30 right now, different templates, because obviously this is the project that only for the employees. So we got to the point that, okay, we need to create the templates, and somebody from the internal team can take these and run with it. Then we're not going to be, this is not going to be ongoing maintenance, because we need to focus more on the client work in the long run. So some of them are similar to what you've seen on the website. Some of them are new. I love this graphic for the uphill health group, with also using the dots. We do have a couple of instances that we have a photography, but mostly these are illustrations we did for their Fuse templates. New hires, Fuse tricks and tips, open door policy, values, and again, some of them are taking really abstract direction. So just when we thought we were done with the intranet side, we launched our site, we launched all of the documents, we did the intranet. Now it's time actually, when you go actually in MMC lobby, there's no indication of where I am, like what is the company. There's not even a logo in the lobby. There's an outside door, but that's pretty much it. So this is a very sneak preview of what we're working right now. So I'm sharing our top secret information with you. But this is something where we're looking at how to actually take the branding right now and bring into the facility. They're doing a lot of restructuring, even painting walls red, just one wall in conference room. I think and accessorizing the colors will make a huge difference. So this is a couple of ideas that we're going to be pitching, and some of you in the group, I might need your help with that. But this is if this project is complete, I think it's going to create a really neat case study of how making consistent branding, that everything what's coming out from the company to the customers, to the clients, has the same visual and carries the same message. And you always know that it's coming from MMC. So this is other, wall decals we're going to be creating for each section of the company. The FDL or Club 212, Creative, Cafe, or Digital Center, we're going to actually create kind of decals that, and kind of a system. This is very sketchy, almost a sketch presentation, what we're going to be doing with them. But I think once we with this, it's going to nicely bring the branding into their facility. Wow, it went pretty fast. I was worried. Last night I was adding couple more slides because I was worried that I'm going to go too fast through them. What is the reason I want to share these with you? Because first of all, there's perception I've heard in local companies that we don't want to hire people from Binghamton. We want to always go outside and hire outside agencies. And I think sometimes it was I wasn't waiting for them to come to me and ask you. I think it was more of me, hey, tried to raise my hand and asking for a job and asking directly. And I actually didn't have a lot of, I work with a lot of small startup companies and larger corporations. I work from I work with Caterpillar, that heavy equipment company, one of their licensee, and I work with small, offices here in Binghamton, a small startup company, so that the client range is really broad. And this was, just an example that we, here in the Binghamton area, but again, all of actually people involved. The developer was from West Windsor, some of the developers from Ithaca, New York. Like, everybody were pretty much from here from the area. It was a nice way to, providing the quality work. That not necessarily always that your client needs to go outside of Binghamton to find that. Because that's what I've been hearing, the perception, even the companies at the banks, or even going to Albany or Syracuse, because it's just something what's not coming from Binghamton, it's not good enough. And I'm hoping that this project and other that we're working on with other here freelancers and developers will kind of break the perception of that. And there was a time actually at the beginning, and I can't tell you how many meltdowns I have through that project. I never showed them to my client. Because the pressure was up, and we were, something at the very beginning when I realized about the scope of the project, I told Dan, the owner, I sent them actually links to go to Siegel & Gale or to Meta Design or Lippincott in Boston. I mean, these are the best people in branding, and I know that, and I wanted him to get the best people in industry, because I was just afraid that is there something I'm going to be able to handle? He said, no, I won't leave it here. I know it was a budget constraints or it was just the trust that was put in us, but it was pretty much, I kind of had a cold feet at the very beginning of that project. But again, I think it was a team and a teamwork that made the entire, project happen. But do you have any questions?
Yeah, I might have missed this at the beginning, but were you in-house at MMC? Or?
No, I left.
Okay.
I left, and I knew they were getting ready to do the rebranding project. It was just in conversations. Like, they didn't hire anybody. They didn't have anybody line up. I knew, but there was something, they were refreshing a lot of people, firing actually a lot of people, bringing a lot of people new, expanding. It was a very significant growth. So I actually had a good relationship with all my different employers. I never want to burn any bridge, so it ended up being all my past employers actually became my clients right now. But that's when I left, my last day of work, I went, I begged for a meeting because he never had time, the owner. I begged him for a meeting. I went there for a couple of minutes, made a pitch, and he called me a couple of weeks after. And it feels like I never left sometimes because we do so much, and that's one of our biggest accounts. That it feels like I'm still working there, like I've never left.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. Is why do you want to not work there? What's the advantage? What advantages do you see as being an agency provider versus being an in-house and getting a salary and benefits and everything? What are the trade-offs?
I know there are days that when I'm missing my cubicle world, that I go to 8 to 5, I get benefits, nice 401k plan, I don't have to worry about anything, the check always comes on time. I miss those days. I think that's what a lot of designers wish for when they work in-house, because after a while, it gets repetitive. You do design work, but it's pretty much the same design, and I think the beauty and excitement of running your own creative studio is that you get to work with a lot of other businesses and clients. I work with a Caterpillar, I work with a Polish restaurant, and I work with, at the beginning, eventually I probably will narrow my scope, and I'm going to be more niche, but right now I do a lot of different industries, and that's what makes it exciting, because I have to learn about them every time I start working with them. I work with a lot of nonprofits, that also, it's a different dynamic. So I wasn't really having any reason to leave. But at that time, I was doing a lot of I was working my full-time job during the day, and I was going home putting my kids to bed and starting my freelance work, right? I was doing like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was working. So, but that's the way you actually help, it helps you to launch your business because you're not going cold turkey. You're not saying, I'm going to stop working today, I'm going to go freelance, from tomorrow. You actually start building this relationship with your clients as a freelance, and when you're ready to leave, you know that you have those based already. And that's what happened with my other client. I've been freelancing for them, and they said, I've been talking, we become friends. I talked to them, like one day when I grow up, and I would like to have my own studio. And they actually came to me and they said, you know what, we're gonna give you a contract for a year, secure this time of hours, so you can go on your own. So it was like no brainer. It was like perfect opportunity at the end of the year. I wasn't like now or never. It was almost that, and it's been a good client for a year right now. So it's good to couple more like the accounts, and we can get some sleep and not working 20 hours a day. But it's amazing. Like I want to try because I feel like I always, if I would better go and fail and go back, but at least I try to do on my own. But right now it's amazing learning experience. All the things like I was finding your presentation is very helpful because that's what I'm doing. Finding the best project management tool, finding the inspiration. I'm gonna do this desktop. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. For inspiration. So it's been amazing, journey. So I've been only doing this for all my own since the beginning of this year, but so far, it's been a blast. But again, there are days when I miss my cubicle day, because it gives you some kind of a comfort level, that you don't have to work, especially when you have two little kids and you providing. You need to. I would love to do illustrations all day like that, but because I didn't mention the other things I do at EvelinaHoldridge.com is the surface design. When I used to work in Sydney, New York for Mead, the producer of the Mead notebooks and Edelman's office products, I actually spent there a couple years just doing repetitive patterns they could use for their notebooks and covers. It was fun. It was really fun. And that's what I also do on the side. But obviously, this kind of work pays the bills at the end of the day. So trying to find a balance between. I probably give you more than you wanted to know right now with this answers.
No, I appreciate that. That's great. Thank you.
Good knowing, but any other questions? Yeah.
I was just wondering, like a year-long branding project like that involving dots. Are you tired of dots?
Yeah, I am. I'm actually, all of the fused banners, I actually didn't do them myself. Mm-hmm. My other graphic designer did them under my direction because I was losing it. I was losing I was like, what else I could come up with, I was actually losing the freshness, and that's what I built up the team right now that I kind of know who's good at what, and I try to delegate the work, and I was so happy to find a girl that actually, she was excited about the assignment, and she came up with such a fabulous, ideas that I wouldn't. You're right, after a while, you need to step out and mix things and, help other people also do that because you're getting stale, So that's the challenge of, working for that project for a year. I know we have a couple of, that's why with this project for bringing the graphics, I want to actually bring the interior designer for that because, you can't be an expert in everything and try to pretend that you know everything. So I think my responsibility is to bring the right people and the right talent to help me with that. So hopefully on that, but you're right. So any other questions? Thank you very much. And I think pizza is here.